In news from Jamaica, former police chief Owen Ellington was grilled on Tuesday about his interaction with popular clergyman Reverend Al Miller during the West Kingston incursion in May 2010. Attorney representing Pastor Miller, Queen's Counsel Jacqueline Samuels-Brown, suggested that Mr. Miller had communicated to the former police chief his intention to assist the then-fugitive Christopher Dudus Coke to surrender to the police. Mrs. Samuels-Brown insisted that in one of the exchanges between Reverend Miller and Mr. Ellington, her client relayed a message from Mr. Coke.
Mr. Ellington, I'm going to suggest to you that on none of the visits, and I'm going to provide other particulars that may assist you to recall, on none of the visits by Reverend Miller to your office did he ever say to you that, and I want to quote you now, that he, Reverend Miller, saw the man, and the man said to him, if it was PNP in office, they would have known how to deal with it. Tell Bruce Golding to find a way to deal with it. He never ever told you.
On his second visit.
That Dudu said those words to him.
He said those on his second visit. And that is why, you know, I just left it there. I thanked him for his effort and, you know, left it there.
Because you see, that's why I'm putting it to you, the importance of this call on the Sunday when things have been escalated in a way that was negative and adverse to the police. That is when you said to him, we are going in regardless. You don't recall that?
I don't recall that.
Meanwhile, Mrs. Samuels-Brown also pointed to another phone call between the two men. She argued that on May 31, 2010, mere days after the incursion into West Kingston, Mr. Miller called the former commissioner. That conversation, she suggested, lasted for about 4 minutes.
It lasted a while because I remember I was in a group with officers and in the headquarters command and control center, and he called and seemed to recall he was asking directions where to take a particular individual, and then he said he had maybe Coke's sister or Coke's brother with him, and then he went on to say he would still try to find Christopher Coke and persuade him to surrender.
Thank you very much. Do you recall in that conversation, in the context of the discussion about still trying to find Christopher Coke and bring him in, he indicated that he was thinking of making a public appeal for Dudus to turn himself in?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that?
No.
But you are aware that a public appeal was made by him, which was published in the newspaper?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're not taken by surprise because it was attached to the witness statement submitted to the commission?
I haven't seen his statement.
Oh, your counsel didn't show you?
I haven't seen it.
I see.
And attorney for the Jamaica Defense Force, Peter Champagny, also wrapped up his cross-examination of Mr. Ellington on Tuesday. He sought answers about the type of weapons seized during the 2010 joint police-military operation. According to Mr. Ellington, the police confiscated over 115 guns and warlike equipment.
Would it be a fair statement or truthful statement to say that the security forces, that is to say the Jamaica Constabulary Force and the Jamaica Defense Force, seized a wide range of warlike equipment in Tivoli Gardens and Denham Town?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And this seizure included over 115 guns?
Yes, sir.
And 30. How many?
I corrected that yesterday.
To say?
It is 15,500 rounds.
Thank you.
In the operation.
And included in that would be hand grenades?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ellington noted that Coke was known to frequent at least 14 locations. He said he knew of 2 main addresses in Upper St. Andrew. Meanwhile, counsel for the JDF, Peter Champagny, asked Mr. Ellington if he could compare the occurrences of May 2010 to any other operation in the country. Mr. Ellington said the incursion was a challenge to the sovereignty of the state.
Mr. Ellington.
Yes, sir.
The likes and occurrences of what took place in May of 2010 in your 34 years as a police officer, have you ever experienced anything like that?
No, sir.
In Jamaica?
Not in my experience, and I can't remember anything like it happening.
How would you describe it?
Well, the way we described it to the government, that it was a challenge to the sovereignty of the state, and it was
a challenge to the
sovereignty of the state, and
of the
it
state.
was threats posed by a criminal organization which felt that its members were above the law, and they were willing to take on the security forces.
And it was a situation in which you welcomed the assistance of the Jamaica Defence Force?
Absolutely, yes.
Their input was vital?
Yes, it was critical to resolution of the threat at the time.
It was essentially a war against the state?
Not my language.
Not your language, but close enough?
All the elements were there.